let's get into the story of the day, Niner wise, and that's Deebo Samuel. And everybody, I don't even know confidently, Kyle, that it's even a story. But the question of the day is: are the Niners going to consider trading Deebo Samuel? Here are the facts. He scrubbed his social media of 49er related mentions. All right, those are the facts. That's really it. I expect him to get a contract extension for the 49ers to hand it to him to sign as he's walking out onto the field in July before training camp. That's when I expect that him to sign that deal. Same with Nick Bosa. I think they'll do something with Jimmy between now and then to create that room to give them that money to spend. But what do you make of the story of the day that he's, that maybe the negotiations between his agent and Parag have gotten a little icy? We know Parag's a hell of a negotiator, and the Niners will dig in deep. Do you think we are seeing a crack between the relationship between Deebo and the Niners, or is this nothing to see here, business as usual, don't bat an eye?
I think there's a lot going on with this, but I think the bottom line is there's nothing to see here. But at the same time, you have to think, 26-year-old receiver coming off a career year, coming off a year that we haven't seen in the NFL by any player. So naturally, he's going to want to get compensated for it. Why wouldn't you? There's no way you could blame him for that. Okay, with that said, the 49ers, they operate a certain way. They, generally speaking, under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they're going to extend their players right before training camp hits, more than likely. So I imagine after seeing Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and now Stephon Diggs, like the best of the best wideouts get paid, Deebo wants to be paid just like them. And he probably walked into the 49ers room, got an offer, looked at the offer. Whoa, what's going on here? This is not what I'm worth. So now I don't want to call it a temper tantrum, but he's probably upset at the number. So he's going to say, okay, you don't value me like I feel like I should be valued. I'm going to get somebody's attention. And in today's day and age, when we talk about before recording, social media matters. So by doing that, he knows that people on the internet are going to notice. So of course, all we talk about is he going to be? Think about that, especially when you were talking about when you worked in the league. What would have happened if we're talking about because a player unfollowed his team on Instagram that he's going to get traded? Season's over. Hasn't played a game in a few months, but this is what it's come down to. It sounds silly to say out loud.
It's wild. It's a different time for sure, but he's a valuable player. You can argue he's the most dynamic player on the team. He's also, we were talking about it a little bit in the green room before we got rolling here. He's been hurt. He's been hurt a lot. And I saw the numbers. You guys had him today at Niners Nation. Was it 31 of 48 or something like that? He's played. He's missed a lot of time. And if you go back to South Carolina, he had soft tissue injuries there. I believe quad and hammy issues. His legs could get big. And I would say he's due, based on the market. I mean, I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong, but about $70 million guaranteed. Now, how it's going to be structured, I don't know. But the other guys of his ilk are getting about $70 million guaranteed. Maybe the Niners came to him with an offer that was, the guaranteed money was closer to 40 or 50 million. And he's looking at these offers around the league going, no. I want to be paid, market rate. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Is this just a tough negotiation and, Parag's tough and they're going to have to battle? Or is these trade rumors legit? Now, John Lynch said it at the combine. He said the other day, hey, Deebo's a leader on the team, and he's emerged as a leader. He's talking about Posey and Deebo, and he's like, hey, they're leaders on the team. They lead in their own way, and they're going to get taken care of, and that it's budgeted for. But, we don't know exactly what the demands are, and we don't know exactly what the offer is and how far apart the divide is between the two numbers, what they're offering and what he's asking for. So let me throw it to you this way. Is there any way you would Niner fans, when I even tweeted about this today, was people were like, no, do not do that. Best player on the team, Lynch should be fired. I mean, this is not, this is not cutting the long snapper. This is the most dynamic. This is arguably the face of the team right now. And one of the great young players in the league and a legitimate MVP candidate this year. And yet do you think they'll trade him? I mean, if you're Lynch and the phone rings and teams are calling, are you answering those calls, or are you just saying, no, this is our guy? We don't even want to listen to what you're offering, or is he listening to those calls?
I feel like it would be bad business to not listen. Just think about what Tyreek went for. Think about, again, sell high. If you are in a position to receive multiple first-round picks for a player like Deebo Samuel, and again, you have to hit on those picks if you do flip him, and you have to maximize the cap space you create and continue to build around your rookie quarterback. Trey Lance, first-year starter. You don't want to trade away Deebo Samuel, but if you are going to, you're going to have to replace him, and you know that. So I would entertain the idea. It's going to have to be a deal where I'm like, I know I'm coming out ahead in this one. Like, I know 4 years from now, I will look smart. And that's not what the media thinks. It's not media perception, but there's no doubt about it that I would listen to it. It's not, you're not going to be able to get Deebo off the 49ers for, a couple day 2 picks. Like, that's not a situation that anybody would envision. But if we're talking about multiple first rounds, or a first round, a second round, and who knows, a couple other day 2 picks, day 3 picks, whatever it may be, then yeah, I am. I know it can probably seem like, because Deebo did have the season, that it's bad business move. But again, you have to think long term, and the more picks you have, the more players you have a chance to build your team up. So yeah, you have to. Would you? Do you think that's an overreaction to trade Deebo?
No, I don't. I mean, there's very, very few players that I would put on the would not consider trade list. I mean, it's too physical of a game. You need players. You need lots of players. So, and it's interesting too. Tyreek Hill got traded for 5 picks, but Tyreek Hill's not the same situation as Deebo. Tyreek Hill was on a team that had already paid Mahomes $40 million, was totally strapped on the cap, and they had to pay him. So it was like, his contract was up like today. They had to do something. They were under the gun. The Niners are not under the gun. They have Deebo on 1 more year on his rookie deal. Theoretically, they don't have to do anything right now. So it's not the same situation. Then when you factor in who was the loser in the Tyreek Hill sweepstakes, it was the Jets. And now Robert Saleh is, let's talk about the Jets for a second. Robert Saleh's in year 2. They got the quarterback last year. There's really no pressure on Saleh, but he wants his own guys, and he doesn't want to take too many chances with picks because he's smart, and he knows in New York you don't get forever. And the other guy there, Joe Douglas, is probably trying to save his job, to be totally honest. He invested in Mekhi Becton. Becton had a bum knee. Becton didn't play very much. And so I think there's a lot of people in New York have very little patience for Joe Douglas, even though I think Joe Douglas is pretty good. So now you got a GM who's under the gun. So if I'm John Lynch, I'm absolutely taking that call, despite how the fans may feel. The fans are going, no, don't trade Deebo. But I'm taking that call because Joe Douglas is desperate, and he's got 2 1s and 2 2s. And I want 3 out of those 4 picks. I want 2 1s and 1 of those 2s, and maybe a player, or maybe a pick next year. But they got 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. I want 3 of those picks if I'm handing you Deebo Samuel at this point in his career. But I would do it, Kyle, because here's why. Deebo's got, in my opinion, he's a terrific player, but he's also a very unique guy. We talked about this earlier this week. Grant Cohn and I talked about this. You're talking about paying him $70 million like a receiver, premier receiver, but he's also your a guy that you use as a short yardage runner. And think about that. That does not add up to a long career when you use your most dynamic wide receiver and big play threat on 4th and 1, on 3rd and 1 as in short yardage. So I don't know that I want to, even though I love Deebo and he's got tremendous heart, and when his legs are in shape, I mean, there's like almost no receiver like him in the game. If somebody comes offer me a bunch of picks and there's 2 number 1s in there, I'm doing it. I'm pulling the trigger because I really believe, Kyle, that he's got maybe 2 years of what we saw this year in him at that level. And then I think the level comes down a little bit, and maybe that's too clinical of an evaluation, but that's how I see it. I see 2 more years like that, and 5 picks, or 2 number 1s and a big package of picks. That's worth more than 2 more years of Deebo, in my opinion. Give me your thoughts to my whole reasoning there.
Well, I think it's hard for fans to separate that. These two things can be independent. Deebo is a great player when he's on the 49ers. When he's on the field, there are not many players who are able to do the things he can do when the ball is in his hands. With that said, how much worse would the 49ers be if you made that deal where you're getting all those high picks and you're trading Deebo and you have that cap space? If we were to say
hit on those
total,
picks, I mean, you
true,
just hit,
yeah, that is the pressure. But in this offense, it's a Kyle Shanahan offense. He's going to get you the ball. If they can have another speedy playmaker, again, he's probably not going to be at the level of Deebo, but what Deebo just did, how sustainable is that? Like, is that going to happen again? Have you said 2 more years of this? If they were to get another year that's 80% of what Deebo just did, they would be head over heels about that. Because, again, I don't think people understand just how special his 2021 season was. So, yeah, I'm just – it comes back to – so you remember the Patriots game in 2019? It was a blowout, and it was 30-6 or whatever. And Deebo comes up limping a little bit off of a carry. Those plays can happen anytime in meaningless games anyway. So the threat of him being able to miss time, like you can't ignore that. So I know that's just like a random obscure example, but that's what football is. Like, those are going to happen in the most random occurrences. So I think I lean with you there.
It's so tough. I mean, we both, and I understand the fans. The fans are like, man, that's our guy. It's like, no, I get it, but football's not for long. It's interesting when Bowman and Willis were together. I thought, man, we're going to be watching this duo man the inside linebacker spots on this team for the next decade,
yeah.
And it just didn't happen. So it's like, if Willis and Bowman can crash and burn because of physical issues, then it can happen to anybody at any point, and especially, bulked up players like Deebo. The value would never be higher, though. Only question I would have is, I wonder if the Jets, if the Jets are offering a 2 and a 3 or something, no. But if they were offering some bounty of picks, including a couple number ones, man, I think if you're the 49ers, that probably is the better route. But man, you better convert.
Imagine that backlash.
Picks. Oh,
if that wide receiver they take flames out, or even worse, the wide receiver they take is injury prone. So you move Deebo out of fear that this wide receiver unknown is going to give you, let's say, 75, 80%. And now he can't stay healthy. Ooh, John Lynch might have to go back to TV if that happens.